Welcome back to another Bit Heroes video. Today we're diving into the new raid following the Tier 10 update. This is going to be Raid 7, Gorbon's Rockin Ruckus, which is unlocked after completing the new zone Echelon. This raid is not as heavy on mechanics as Raid 6, and many players were clearing Heroic on the first day of release. With a total team stats of between 22 and 24,000, the ideal team composition puts a strong bait tank in the front of the raid. This means a player with maximum damage reduction to be defensive, but with the lowest stamina to bait out attacks that target the weakest player. The back slot is the best option for your highest stamina tank, as this raid is loaded with attacks that target the strongest and attacks that target the furthest. The middle three slots should be filled with DPS, but if you're having a hard time with the raid, you can bring a third tank for tank swapping and increased redirect. The first of the new familiars is Flexi the Fox. All of Flexi's attacks target the weakest player. Flexi has low stamina, making her an ideal target for snipe. Flexi also has a special bonus that increases SP regen for the enemy team. Early on into the raid, players should consider going into their options and turning on Ignore Boss and Ignore Shrines so they can autopilot all of the other fights and use the shrines before manualing the boss. Next up are the mushrooms known as Cap Kids. Cap Kids also attack weakest, and Cap Kids has the first attack strongest of the raid. Cap Kids is a healing familiar with a special bonus that converts overhealing to shields. The Cap Kids art is also now available as part of some of the new Tier 10 cosmetics. The third familiar is Gala with a lot of stamina. Gala has a special bonus giving a 5% chance for healing skills received to be twice as effective. Gala can shield, attack strongest, closest, and furthest, with the attack furthest being the hardest hitting, putting more pressure on your back slot tank. Popping up on the screen is the text version of all the information on the familiars. This also has the stat distribution, and this information comes right off the Bit Heroes wiki itself. Here are all the currently discovered fusions with these familiars. Nothing immediately jumps out as a must-have familiar, and if you made it this far into the game, it's likely that you have better options. You'll also note that these special bonuses come from previous mythic items or set piece bonuses. Speaking of sets, next up is the Raid 7 set. This is Earthen Might. It fills the same slots as the Obliteration set. That's going to be the offhand, head, body, and necklace. The 2-piece bonus being 2% deflect chance, 3-piece bonus being automatically prevent the first death upon your team. When this effect goes off, your teammate will be revived with 50% shields, and that shield amount can be affected by other modifiers, such as one of the new mythic items. The 4 set piece bonus reads 25% damage reduction. This is reduced by 3% each time you are attacked and returns to 25% upon reaching 5%. Please note that the 5% is actually a tooltip error and the minimum bonus is 10%. This information was clarified by the developer MokiLock in Twitch chat on the night of the reset. Hashtag TwitchChat/GavxGavx. The corrected minimum of 10% damage reduction makes this set viable when paired with other damage reduction items. And keep in mind that damage reduction is now capped at 75%. Newer and free-to-play players should note that it is easiest to obtain the raid set, so if you've ever been interested to switch to tank, now is probably the best time to do so. Also, if you're a tank, you can consider to run 2 of the same healing familiars in your backline, which would mean that you would need less augments to fully maximize. And if you missed the video guide on augments, definitely make sure to check it out on this channel. Tomorrow's video is the new world boss, the Melvin's Factory. This world boss features 7 new boss fights, so make sure that you are subscribed to be notified when that video is posted. This raid drops 2 mythic items. You have the Melvin's Cloak, which is a body slot. You and nearby teammates gain 2% increased damage. This is a massive bonus for you and your team, assuming that you can fit it in with your sets. And the second one is Frostbite, the mythic necklace, with a bonus giving 5% SP skill damage. This means that any skill costing SP will get a 5% damage bonus, which is going to be massive on things such as damaging mount attacks. Next up on the screen is Gorbon. This is not the raid boss. This is a fusion incorporating the Raid 7 and the Raid 6 boss, as well as new Raid 7 materials. Raid 6 introduced specific raid materials for fusions, the drop rate of which being around 50% per raid. Gorbon is one of the components for the new mythic Raid 7 tank, Gorbon. Gorbon has a really strong stat distribution and some interesting attacks that I'll talk about when we get to the final boss of this raid. Similar to the Raid 6 Mythic Fusion, Gorbon is going to utilize 3 of the Epic Fusions as well as 1 with Raid 7 Boss. Now if you've been running with Ignore Shrines and Ignore Boss, you can turn off Ignore Shrines and go back to Autopilot to locate those shrines before you manual the boss. Gorbon is a strong tank with shields, but the skill that you need to look out for is going to be Destroy, dealing a large amount of damage to the strongest enemy and usable once per adventure, similar to a mount skill. Here we also have Gala the Tree, familiar with a lot of stamina, but the go-to strategy is still going to be to snipe out the additional enemy. And keep in mind that Gala has attack strongest and attack furthest skills, putting more pressure on your backline. If you get Flexi the Fox, all the attacks will be aimed at the weakest enemy, putting a lot of pressure on your bait tank. And if you get Cap Kids the Mushrooms, they are a healing familiar with attacks for weakest and furthest. Gorbon's other attacks include attack target and attack furthest, putting more pressure on that back line, as well as a 2 SP spread heal. Keep in mind that you can see the boss's SP on his health bar. Well, that'll do it for this one. We didn't see the Goblin, so I'll put him and his schematic up on the outro. But make sure that you stay tuned. Next video will be the new world boss, the Melvin's Factory, featuring 7 new boss fights.